Hi guys, and welcome back to my first look at Dawn of War 2 Retribution Beta. I, of course, am Harlequin, and today's game is going to introduce the Tyranid race. So today we have NareYa playing as Tyranids versus his opponent GiDDeLo playing as the Eldar. So the Tyranids are the kind of spooky, rapidly reproducing, bio-organic type race in this game. They have a voracious appetite for worlds and humanity and that sort of thing, and they are, of course, without number. So we'll take a good look at them here. And just as a reminder, since I am kind of introducing this, and people are getting into this game more and more rapidly, I figured the first couple of casts for Dawn of War 2 is going to be at kind of a basic level, so don't expect me to get too complicated in my analysis of what's going on. More or less, I'm just going to be trying to explain the various units and abilities that are being used, just to give people an appreciation for this. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this game. Once again, this map is going to be the 1 versus 1 map, Quest's Heresy. It's sort of a lost refinery, kind of in a little serene area amidst a sea of sand dunes, that sort of thing. I kind of like the look and feel of it. So let's take a look around the map right now and just get a feel for where these players are. So in the northern position, we're going to have GiDDeLo playing as the Warlock commander for the Eldar. The Warlock is a pretty powerful hero. He's got a lot of really good early game abilities, a lot of good melee abilities, that sort of thing. He's got a kind of a destructor psionic attack, which can be really useful. On the southern side of the map here, we have the Tyranid player, NareYa, who's going to be playing as the Lichtor Alpha. The Lichtor Alpha is kind of the sneakier of the heroes. He can cloak and has a bunch of other neat abilities that we'll take a look at. So let's go ahead and get this replay started and see what all of our players are up to. So you can see it looks like NareYa begins with a Hormigaunt squad here. These guys are a small little frail melee squad, but they do a lot of damage in numbers, and they can be upgraded to do even more. And you can see he's opting to go ahead and buy a second squad. There's another squad called a Termagant squad, which has a ranged ability, which is frequently chosen second, but it looks like he wants mass melee on this map, so we'll have to see where that's going to go. Meanwhile, you can see that GiDDeLo's Guardian squad has already gone over to take care of this victory point, with the power generator being taken care of by the Warlock. So we'll have to keep an eye on these guys and see what's up to it. But it looks like, knowing that he's got enemies without number on this map, he went ahead and grabbed a Howling Banshee squad, which is going to be useful in the melee encounters early game for sure. Looks like our Warlock right now is bumping into a squad of Hormagaunts. Oh, and he has used his early game Psionic Destructor ability right there and just did a bunch of AoE damage to this Hormagaunt brood. Didn't actually kill any models, but definitely sent them scampering away. Meanwhile, he's activating Fleet of Foot and just kind of running around capping these victory points. So not putting too much emphasis right now. Oh, and there we have it. Flesh hooks popping out of this camouflaged Lichtor Alpha right now, killing one of the Howling Banshee models, and already there's a lot of conflict going on here. Not a lot of capturing, actually. The only thing to note right now is, by the way, whoa, they're getting into some really nasty melee here, that the Tyranid player has already capped and upgraded his power and set down 3 power nodes. So looks like the Lichtor Alpha is just ripping away at these Howling Banshees. The Howling Banshees, of course, are really proficient in combat themselves. So both of them are taking humongous losses, and it looks like, wow, only 2 models remaining here for the Howling Banshee squad, taking 3 casualties, the Lichtor Alpha being forced to retreat there, but the Howling Banshee, seeing that the Hormigaunt brood is charging on in, also are going to have to get out of the way there. So kind of a lot of damage taken by both sides, but for the time being, central control is taken here for the Tyranid player. You can see, by the way, these Hormigaunts have been upgraded with adrenal glands, basically giving them more speed, health, damage, and they kind of leap around when they attack. Really good ability there. And meanwhile, the Warlock is just kind of charging right on in. Again, you can see with his power sword there, he's pretty useful early game. Fleet of Foot able to kind of hunt these guys down. And the Guardian squad providing a little bit of suppressing fire here. But it looks like the Hormigaunts smell their prey there, and we're kind of taking a run straight for the Guardians. They're definitely pretty useful against Guardians. A lot less so against the Howling Banshees, however. Once again, getting more kills. These guys are great in number, but they are kind of weak individually. So he's definitely going to be doing a little bit of damage there. Taking a look around the map, we can see it looks like the Tyranid player is just kind of capping everything here. NareYa's got a pretty reasonable control, but still has a little bit of catch-up work to do in terms of getting some of these back-cap victory points and that sort of thing. Once again, we've got that Destructor ability, but that was kind of a swing and a miss there. And meanwhile, here we see those pathogen upgraded Hormigaunts just kind of bouncing around on the field right now. But it doesn't matter. It looks like there is a squad of Rangers out on the field right now for GiDDeLo. Rangers getting a nice little snipe off on those Hormigaunts, knocking them back a little bit. And this Warlock is just keeping constant pressure on them. So despite being upgraded and well-suited for the job here, it looks like they're going to have to get out of there for for the time being. Meanwhile, looks like the other squad of Hormagaunts over here on the left are just kind of decapping this power node. Bam! Taking that thing out. Probably going to cap that pretty soon here. And the Lichtor Alpha is just kind of prowling around. So this guy is definitely very, very mean in melee. We saw those flesh hook ability earlier, which just kind of shoots a couple of fleshy cables out of him that he uses to kind of rip onto a single model and pull it towards him. So that can be really effective sometimes. And also he can sneak around and infiltrate and be upgraded with various weapons that do certain effects. Oh, there we have the flesh hooks once again, ripping one of the poor Howling Banshees out of that squad. Meanwhile, it looks like he's just kind of trying to decide if he wants to fight them or not. For the time being here, he is retreating a little bit with the Hormagaunts kind of getting his back. And the Hormagaunts kind of leaping in action right now, jumping right onto those revealed Rangers, trying to do as much damage as they can. Lichtor Alpha also trying to help deal with all of these Howling Banshees. The Howling Banshees now are just chopping away, and it looks like the Rangers are set up once again, kind of sniping away. Howling Banshees have been upgraded with their aspect of the Banshee, so they were howling right there, kind of suppressing a little bit. Very wounded Hormagaunts getting out of the way, but it looks like NareYa has already purchased a Warrior Brood, which are these big, hefty, kind of heavy melee units. So interesting choices going on right now by NareYa. NareYa having three melee squads out there and a melee hero. So he definitely knows that the Howling Banshees are going to be a problem early game, and is just going to go for all melee. So interesting choices there. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, you can see the Guardian squad by GiDDeLo recapping this victory point, and it looks like the Lichtor Alpha is kind of sneaking in for the kill here, and he has just been revealed, and they're just going to retreat away, and it looks like the Lichtor Alpha is just going to try and cap that victory point. Meanwhile, down south, you can see that the Warlock is busy capping his requisition point. He smells Hormagaunts around the corner, and is just going to fleet of foot charge on in. Bam! Doing a little bit of damage there with that Destructor ability once again. And you can see, by the way, he has been upgraded with a Merciless Witchblade. It does a lot more damage and drains energy, things like that. Really good early game melee upgrade for him. So that'll definitely come to good use. And we can see that NareYa is already upgrading to Tier 2 at his base here. So Tier 2 will unlock some more units for him. Meanwhile, the Warrior Brood just kind of doing its thing. Kind of prowling around here on the left. He knows there's a Ranger squad out here. Rangers not terribly effective in this situation, but they can cloak and they're very mobile. And, you know, snipes certainly help, but basically he's got only tough units and numerous units to fire at, so it's a little bit tricky here. Hormagaunts moving into the scene now, likely coming up here to challenge this Ranger position up here since they didn't want to mess with that, and just going to go ahead and cap that victory point. So it is 2 victory points right now for GiDDeLo, 1 victory point for NareYa. And it looks like GiDDeLo is ahead by a little over 100 points. Meanwhile, Lichtor Alpha now coming in to get the nice flank. Lichtor Alpha, by the way, has been upgraded to have the feeder tendrils. Basically, that gives him a little lifelink ability. Whenever he does damage, he steals a little bit of hit points. That's very useful for keeping him mobile and healthy. Note, by the way, these Guardians have also been upgraded with a Plasma Grenade upgrade as well. And looks like we're going to see a Plasma Grenade right now, and that's kind of a swing and a miss, unfortunately. It goes off in a nice little puff of like, I always think it looks like a cloud of smoke, like a frost bomb or something like that. Anyhow, you can see that these Howling Banshees are just charging in right now, putting a ton of pressure on these Hormagaunts. Hormagaunts are just kind of skittering away, waiting for them to double in number, and there they go. They're charging all in, but of course the Howling Banshees are just screaming at the top of their lungs, suppressing all these guys. Meanwhile, the entire time the Guardian squad is firing away at them. But upon seeing the Warrior Brood enter and just the countless number of Hormagaunts here, it looks like all of these units are just retreating. Hormagaunts, however, realizing that they can't catch up with their prey, are just going to start attacking these power generators here. So that could be pretty useful. It's always a good idea to attack your opponent's power. Power is the most important resource as you start going into mid and late game. So whatever you can do to sort of hamper their power acquisition is always useful there. So looking around, you can see that the victory points are tied on the minimap down here, and Lichtor Alpha squaring off kind of against the Warlock. Warlock, by the way, having been upgraded with the Champion's Robe, which does grant him a Psychic Shield. And it looks like he's got that activated, and he's just kind of fighting away here with this Lichtor Alpha, who is, you can see whenever he gets those little green hexagons around him, he's lifelinking a little bit. Meanwhile, just a lot of scampering going on up here. Again, the Hormagaunts trying their best to challenge, but they keep getting suppressed and focus fired, and having a really tricky time what with all of this going on. And it looks like we do have some Spore Mines being summoned in the middle of the field here. Spore Mines can be called down by Tyranid players, and when they go off, they do a lot of damage to infantry, and they also suppress and things like that. So if you use them just right, they can be quite good. They're a lot less effective against commanders, though, so you can see that GiDDeLo very wisely moves his commander back and has him go back and try and chop through these spore mines one by one. It looks like the Lichtor Alpha is trying to put some pressure on him. Oh, and there he goes, using his deadly jump ability, recently acquired upgrade there, just to try and leap on in. You can see even using the Destructor ability to snap up the rest of those, and one mine goes off right in the face of these Howling Banshees, and you can see it suppresses, does a good amount of damage to them, but unfortunately, I think GiDDeLo did a pretty good job dealing with it, so the mines didn't do too much here. Now we just have a heavy melee battle going on here right now. We've got Howling Banshees kind of slugging away with the Warrior Brood, the Lichtor Alpha, and the Warlock kind of in the middle of all of this. The Howling Banshees just kind of got ripped apart there. Only 2 of them left, retreating away. 1 left. Oh, and the flesh hooks go out, killing the very last Howling Banshee. That entire Howling Banshee squad has been eliminated. That is a humongous loss for GiDDeLo there. In this game, much like in Company of Heroes, losing an entire squad is absolutely the worst thing that you can have happen to you. You always want to retreat and be able to repair it. So that was a really smooth move there by the Lichtor Alpha. He jumped on when there were 2 of them retreating, he jumped on one of them and then flesh hooked the other one, so using both abilities to take them out. And you can see here that the Warlock is doing a lot of damage to the Lichtor Alpha, but with his rate of fire and the fact that he is lifelinking from his feeder tendrils, there's just no way for the Warlock to get ahead there. And now he's just really charging it. Oh, that could have been a good time, but unfortunately he doesn't have the mana for a flesh hooks, nor is it likely available yet because it's on cooldown. So taking a look at the minimap and just kind of looking around in general, you can see that right now NareYa has got dominating control of the map right now. He's got just about to have 2 victory points and almost all of these central positions under control. Lichtor Alpha once again just jumping on in, using that deadly jump ability, charging in, getting into melee combat with these poor little fragile Guardian squads here, ripping apart model after model. 2 models go down, taking some parting shots at them before getting sniped a little bit more by this Ranger squad up here. So definitely good-looking early game position right now. You can see the Hormigaunt Brood is up here capping away that victory point, and the Warrior squad down here is capping away the rest of it. The Warriors, by the way, have their adrenal glands upgraded as well, and it also gives an AoE health bonus to nearby Tyranid units. So these guys are nice and healthy. Looks like they've finished capping that victory point and certainly are going to have no problem chasing down these Rangers. The Rangers beating a hasty retreat now, sprinting away. And you can see that little health upgrade here, and here come all of these rabid Hormagaunts just coming on in, flooding on through, trying to just jump on top of all of these poor little guys here. Meanwhile, on the other side here, you can see these Hormagaunts are also chasing down the remains of Guardian Squad. So Hormagaunts everywhere, but unfortunately they get just a little bit too close to this webway assembly here, and they are getting suppressed, each of them taking, looks like a single model casualties to those kind of automated shuriken cannons in GiDDeLo's base there. So not too bad, not too bad. Looks like he doesn't want to stick around here too long because he is risking getting sniped quite a bit by these Rangers. So without even putting any pressure on that power generator here, he just gets on out of there. Meanwhile, we can see what looked like yet another Destructor here from that Warlock, just kind of smashing into all these little guys. And what do we have out here? It looks like, while I'm sitting here jibber-jabbering away, NareYa has already teched all the way up to tier 3 and has built a single Carnifex. A Carnifex is one of the largest kind of melee tanks in the game right now. He has all sorts of upgrades, but right now he's been upgraded to have a Thornback ability, which basically just gives him a lot of health and lets him stampede around. So huge melee tank here, chopping away. You can see that Psionic Shield is up a little bit there for the Warlock. But Carnifex right now doing a ton of damage. Lichtor Alpha coming in to kind of help out a little bit there. Flesh hooks grabbing onto the Warlock, throwing him back into the fray. Everybody piling around him. They're like wolves pouncing on this carcass here. And that poor... Oh, and is he going to get it? The deadly jump. He's landing right on top of the Warlock, and I don't think he's going to get it. He was really close there, though. So the Warlock sent running home with almost no hit points. And meanwhile, while all this has been going on, we have not one, but 2 Warp Spider squads are coming out on the field right now for GiDDeLo, which is a very interesting choice right now. So if we take a quick look, and again, I don't want to get too over-analytical about this, but if you just take a quick look around at NareYa's army, he has a lot of little guys with melee capacity and then huge guys. And so having a bunch of Warp Spiders out on the field not only will increase GiDDeLo's mobility, but as you can see here, Warp Spiders on Hormagaunts, Warp Spiders just shred tiny little targets up. You can see them just absolutely exploding away here. The warp spiders, for anyone who's not aware of the kind of lore behind them, they have these death spinners that kind of spray out webs of little monofilament cable that just kind of wraps around you and fills you up and shreds you up and that sort of thing. So really, really good against light units, not so effective at all against heavy armored units here. So the Hormagaunts moving in, but no, look at that. The warp spiders just kind of bouncing away here. Again, double warp spider focus fire on these Hormagaunts, really, really destroying these guys. You can see even warping back in to put additional pressure up, focus firing away on the spore mines even. Spore mines doing tons of damage here. And boom, one of them goes off right as they blink. I think he was still able to get suppressed here. You can see, by the way, they have been upgraded to have an X-Arc. But now the Carnifex is moving on in here. And this Carnifex is really, really tricky here. He charges on in, but it doesn't matter because the Warp Spiders are already blunk out of the way there. And the Carnifex is in a tricky spot here, is what I was trying to say before. Because, of course, he can do a lot of damage to these guys. You can see he even managed to get a kill over there right before they blinked out of there.